Joining us now is Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, what does Iran's move to scatter these chillers at Natanz tell us about the true scale of damage and Tehran's immediate priorities?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. It tells us actually two things. One, about the regime's future nuclear intentions, which is that they want to salvage as much as they can following this strike, because they do expect another strike and that they do hope to reconstitute. They know that this is not a one and done situation. And the second, it actually shows how effective the Trump administration's use of military force amid the larger 12-day war between Israel and Iran was, because Iran isn't moving fissile material. It isn't moving centrifuges. It's basically moving a large glorified industrial AC unit, several large chillers, those HVAC units that you mentioned, because it knows they're expensive and it hopes to reconstitute what's left of its nuclear program. So if there was fissile material, if there was operable centrifuges, if there was a way to restore electricity on the fly back at the Natanz facility, which has both an above ground and an underground component, they would be doing that. But instead, they're focusing on HVAC. And that tells you just as much as you need to know about how effective the administration's use of force is.
Now, strategically, how should we read this? Is this just damage control? Does it point to a longer-term shift in how Iran safeguards its nuclear program? We also know that this is coming among Europe's snapback sanctions, but continue.
So I wouldn't say this represents a shift, because a crawl or a creep has always been the way that the Islamic Republic has tried to work towards the world's most dangerous weapons. This isn't a sprint. This isn't like North Korea's program or Pakistan's program or any other, procurer in the past. This is how to get a bomb as safely as possible. And that represents, at least in their mentality, what they can salvage, what they can reconstitute, what they can actually do while having more of a target on their back in a post-12-day war period. So to me, it shows that they're still interested in a weapon, they're still interested in salvaging, and they're still interested in doing so as safely as possible, not as quickly as possible.
Now, Iran's judiciary is calling Europe's snapback sanctions psychological warfare and is quietly telling domestic media to downplay the issue. How significant is this, both for Iran's public morale and for the broader sanctions regime?
Well, you don't have to take it from me. You could look at the expectations of snapback and its implication with respect to Iranian currency rates, just in the anticipation of this self-imposed European deadline in advance of the October 18th deadline to trigger this snapback mechanism. The Iranian rial was in free fall, and it went back to an all-time high, trading on the black market or on the free market rate of about 1 million rials. That's 100,000 tomans to the U.S. dollar. These are historic highs, because they actually expect that these moves will lead to an intensification of the crisis, not a cooling off of the crisis. Now, I will say that snapback at this point in time, post-max pressure 2.0, is much more of a legal, political, and bureaucratic tool than an economic tool, but it provides a much more important framework for the administration to be able to multilateralize its maximum pressure policy.
All right. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, Behnam. Very interesting, as per usual, to hear your insight here.